Hi everyone. Welcome to Living Wisdom and Dharma World. Today, we're going to continue the recitation of the Diamond Sutra. Before starting, let's start with the benefits of reciting the Diamond Sutra. The Diamond Sutra holds an incredibly special place in Mahayana Buddhism. It's often called the sutra that cuts through illusions like a diamond blade. For centuries, countless practitioners have believed that simply reading, reciting, or copying the sutra plants deep karmic seeds for enlightenment, purifies past negative karma, and brings about both worldly and spiritual benefits. In fact, the Buddha himself, within the sutra, emphasized that even reciting a single verse, even just understanding a single phrase, would generate merit greater than offering treasures, enough to fill countless universes to every Buddha. The benefits, both seen and unseen, ripple outward endlessly. When we talk about the benefits of engaging with the Diamond Sutra, we can point to a few major themes. It purifies karmic obstacles, protecting you from dangers and misfortunes. It sharpens your wisdom, helping you see through illusions. It brings you unexpected support in life, easing your path toward both success and inner peace. And ultimately, it creates the deep causes for you to realize true emptiness, the heart of Buddhist liberation. The simple act of reading or reciting the Diamond Sutra can truly change the course of your life. It clears away karmic darkness, opens channels of blessing, deepens your insight, and sets you firmly on the path toward enlightenment. Whether we look at a billionaire like Li Ka-shing, a beloved celebrity like Andy Lau, or a realized master like Shu Yun, we see that the Diamond Sutra's transformative power is not confined to any one kind of person. It is available to anyone willing to take it into their heart. Even a few minutes a day, even a few verses, can plant seeds of limitless benefit. Let's continue enjoying the Diamond Sutra. Chapter 6. Awaken Faith. Subhuti respectfully asked the Buddha, "Most honored one, in the future, if a person hears this teaching, even if it is only a phrase or sentence, is it possible for that person to have a true faith and knowledge of enlightenment awaken in their mind?" Without a doubt, Subhuti. Even 500 years after the enlightenment of this Buddha, there will be some who are virtuous and wise. And while practicing compassion and charity, they will believe in the words and phrases of this sutra and will awaken their minds purely. After they come to hear these teachings, they will be inspired with belief. This is because when some people hear these words, they will have understood intuitively that these words are the truth. But you must also remember, Subhuti, that such persons have long ago planted the seeds of goodness and merit that lead to this realization. They have planted the seeds of good deeds and charity, not simply before one Buddhist temple, or 2 temples, or 5, but before hundreds of thousands of Buddhas and temples. So when a person who hears the words and phrases of this sutra is ready for it to happen, a pure faith and clarity can awaken within their minds. Subhuti, any person who awakens faith upon hearing the words or phrases of this sutra will accumulate countless blessings and merit. How do I know this? Because this person must have discarded all arbitrary notions of the existence of a personal self, of other people, or of a universal self. Otherwise, their minds would still grasp after such relative conceptions. Furthermore, these people must have already discarded all arbitrary notions of the non-existence of a personal self, other people, or a universal self. Otherwise, their minds would still be grasping at such notions. Therefore, anyone who seeks total enlightenment should discard not only all conceptions of their own selfhood, of other selves, or of a universal self, but they should also discard all notions of the non-existence of such concepts. When the Buddha explains these things using such concepts and ideas, people should remember the unreality of all such concepts and ideas. They should recall that in teaching spiritual truths, the Buddha always uses these concepts and ideas in the way that a raft is used to cross a river. Once the river has been crossed over, the raft is of no more use and should be discarded. These arbitrary concepts and ideas about spiritual things need to be explained to us as we seek to attain enlightenment. However, ultimately these arbitrary conceptions can be discarded. Think Subhuti. Isn't it even more obvious that we should also give up our conceptions of non-existent things? Chapter 7. No attainment, no teaching. Then Buddha asked Subhuti, "What do you think, Subhuti? Has the Buddha arrived at the highest, most fulfilled, most awakened, and enlightened mind? Does the Buddha teach any teaching?" Subhuti replied, "As far as I have understood the Buddha's teachings, there is no independently existing object of mind called the highest, most fulfilled, awakened, or enlightened mind. Nor is there any independently existing teaching that the Buddha teaches. Why? Because the teachings that the Buddha has realized and spoken of cannot be conceived of as separate, independent things, and therefore cannot be described. The truth in them is uncontainable and inexpressible. It neither is, nor is it not." What does this mean? What this means is that Buddhas and disciples are not enlightened by a set method of teachings, but by an internally intuitive process which is spontaneous and is part of their own inner nature. Chapter 8. Real merit has no merit. Let me ask you, Subhuti, if a person filled over 10,000 galaxies with the 7 treasures for the purpose of compassion, charity, and giving alms, would this person not gain great merit and spread much happiness? Yes, most honored one. This person would gain great merit and spread much happiness, even though, in truth, this person does not have a separate existence to which merit could accrue. Why? Because this person's merit is characterized with the quality of not being merit. The Buddha continued, "Then suppose another person understood only 4 lines of this sutra, but nevertheless took it upon themselves to explain these lines to someone else. This person's merit would be even greater than the other person's. Why? Because all Buddhas and all the teachings and values of the highest, most fulfilled, most awakened minds arise from the teachings in this sutra. And yet, even as I speak, Subhuti, I must take back my words as soon as they are uttered, for there are no Buddhas, and there are no teachings." Chapter 9. No returning and not returning. Buddha then asked, "What do you think, Subhuti? Does one who has entered the stream which flows to enlightenment say, 'I have entered the stream'?" "No, Buddha," Subhuti replied. "A true disciple entering the stream would not think of themselves as a separate person that could be entering anything. Only that disciple who does not differentiate themselves from others, who has no regard for name, shape, sound, odor, taste, touch, or for any quality can truly be called a disciple who has entered the stream." Buddha continued, "Does a disciple who is subject to only one more rebirth say to himself, 'I am entitled to the honors and rewards of a once to be reborn'? No, blessed one. Once to be reborn is only a name. There is no passing away or coming into existence. Only one who realizes this can really be called a disciple. Subhuti, does a venerable one who will never more be reborn as a mortal say to himself, 'I am entitled to the honor and rewards of a non-returner'? No, perfectly enlightened one. A non-returner is merely a name. There is actually no one returning and no one not returning. Tell me, Subhuti, does a Buddha say to himself, 'I have obtained perfect enlightenment'? No, blessed one. there is no such thing as perfect enlightenment to obtain. If a perfectly enlightened Buddha were to say to himself, "I am enlightened," he would be admitting there is an individual person, a separate self and personality, and would therefore not be a perfectly enlightened Buddha. Subhuti then said, "Most honored one, you have said that I, Subhuti, excel amongst thy disciples in knowing the bliss of enlightenment, in being perfectly content in seclusion, and in being free from all passions. Yet I do not say to myself that I am so, for if I ever thought of myself as such, then it would not be true that I escaped ego delusion. I know that in truth there is no Subhuti, and therefore Subhuti abides nowhere, that he neither knows nor does he not know bliss, and that he is neither free from nor enslaved by his passions." Chapter 10. Purify thoughts from all the senses. The Buddha then continued, "What do you think, Subhuti? When I was in a previous life with Dipankara Buddha, did I receive any definite teaching or attain any degree of self-control, whereby I later became a Buddha? No, honorable one. When you were a disciple of Dipankara Buddha, in truth, you received no definite teaching, nor did you attain any definite degree of self-control. Subhuti, know also that if any Buddha would say, 'I will create a paradise,' he would speak falsely. Why? Because a paradise cannot be created, nor can it not be uncreated. A disciple should develop a mind which is in no way dependent upon sights, sounds, smells, tastes, sensory sensations, or any mental conceptions. A disciple should develop a mind which does not rely on anything. Therefore, Subhuti, the minds of all disciples should be purifying of all thoughts that relate to seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and discriminating. They should use their minds spontaneously and naturally, without being constrained by preconceived notions arising from the senses. Suppose, Subhuti, a man had an enormous body. Would the sense of personal existence he had also be enormous? Yes, indeed, Buddha, Subhuti answered. His sense of personal existence would be enormous. But the Buddha has taught that personal existence is just a name, for it is in fact neither existence nor non-existence. So it only has the name personal existence. Chapter 11. Merits of this sutra. Subhuti, if there were as many Ganges rivers as the number of grains of sand in the Ganges, would you say that the number of grains of sand in all those Ganges rivers would be very many? Subhuti answered, "Very many indeed, most honored one. If the number of Ganges rivers were that large, how much more so would be the number of grains of sand in all those Ganges rivers? Subhuti, I will declare a truth to you. If a good man or a good woman filled over 10,000 galaxies of worlds with the 7 treasures for each grain of sand in all those Ganges rivers, and gave it all away for the purpose of compassion, charity, and giving alms, would this man or woman not gain great merit and spread much happiness?" Subhuti replied, "Very much so, most honored one. Subhuti, if after studying and observing even a single stanza of this sutra, another person were to explain it to others, the happiness and merit that would result from this virtuous act would be far greater." Chapter 12. The most extraordinary merit. Furthermore, Subhuti, if any person in any place were to teach even 4 lines of this sutra, the place where they taught it would become sacred ground and would be revered by all kinds of beings. How much more sacred would the place become if that person then studied and observed the whole sutra? Subhuti, you should know that any person who does that would surely attain something rare and profound. Wherever this sutra is honored and revered, there is a sacred site, enshrining the presence of the Buddha or one of the Buddha's most venerable disciples. Chapter 13. a diamond that will cut away all arbitrary conceptions. Subhuti said to the Buddha, "By what name shall we know this sutra, so that it can be honored and studied?" The Buddha replied, "This sutra shall be known as the diamond that cuts through illusion. By this name it shall be revered and studied and observed." What does this name mean? It means that when the Buddha named it, he did not have in mind any definite or arbitrary conception, and so named it. This sutra is hard and sharp, like a diamond that will cut away all arbitrary conceptions and bring one to the other shore of enlightenment. What do you think, Subhuti? Has the Buddha taught any definite teaching in this sutra? No, the Buddha has not taught any definite teaching in this sutra. What do you think, Subhuti? Are there many particles of dust in this vast universe? Subhuti replied, "Yes, many, most honored one." Subhuti, when the Buddha speaks of particles of dust, it does not mean I am thinking of any definite or arbitrary thought. I am merely using these words as a figure of speech. They are not real, only illusion. It is just the same with the word universe. These words do not assert any definite or arbitrary idea. I am only using the words as words. Subhuti, what do you think? Can the Buddha be perceived by means of his 32 physical characteristics? No, most honored one. The Buddha cannot be perceived by his 32 physical characteristics. Why? Because the Buddha teaches that they are not real, but are merely called the 32 physical characteristics. Subhuti, if a good and faithful person, whether male or female, has, for the sake of compassion and charity, been sacrificing their life for generation upon generation, for as many generations as the grains of sands in 3,000 universes, and another follower has been studying and observing even a single section of this sutra and explains it to others, that person's blessings and merit would be far greater. To be continued. Thank you for joining us today for this powerful recitation of the Diamond Sutra. As we've heard, the teachings in this sacred text are profound, not because they give us something to hold on to, but because they help us let go. The Buddha reminds us again and again that the deepest truths are beyond form, beyond names, beyond all fixed ideas, and that even the teachings themselves are like a raft, meant to be used and then released. The merit of even reciting or sharing a few lines of this sutra is said to surpass unimaginable acts of generosity. But ultimately, true merit lies not in accumulation, but in the freedom born of non-attachment, a merit that has no self, no giver, no receiver. So let the words of the Diamond Sutra settle gently in your heart. Reflect on them, carry them with you, and return to them often. Whether you're seeking clarity, peace, or liberation, this sutra is a mirror that shows us our original face, empty, luminous, and free. If you found today's recitation meaningful, please consider liking, sharing, or subscribing to Living Wisdom and Dharma World. May the light of the Dharma continue to guide your path. Until next time, stay grounded, stay present, and keep walking the path of awakening.